Hi, Vanessa. Welcome to another episode on Aligned with Effie. I am so excited today to dive into all things breakups, unconventional relationships, and being ghosted. I'm a little bit nervous about this episode, and I feel like it is kind of pushing me out my comfort zone to talk about like different things and share it on the internet. So before we dive into it, I do want to say if you don't want to know about my relationships now, previous, whatnot, turn off now. But I actually know that so many people are going to love this episode.
Yeah, I have a feeling it's gonna be very juicy as per you. But
Love it. And I feel like we always knew this episode was coming. And I'm in
yes,
this practice of like just doing it. Like, how can I not put it off and just like get it out there?
yeah, yeah. The world
Okay.
needs this.
The world does need it. So I'm thinking, where do we even start? I'm thinking maybe just talking about breakups. Like I've been through like a big breakup over the last year. I say big breakup, I mean breakup of a long-term relationship. And part of the piece that I really want to share with people is that sometimes the things that we perceive as negative or these big things that happen within our life can actually be really good and they can actually transform our lives in such magic ways, even if they don't feel good at the time. Because, yeah, life's not all about like feeling 10 out of 10 the whole way through. We are here to feel like this full range of emotions. But I also just want to share that like breakups don't have to be bad. And my experiences in the past with my two major relationships that I've had have actually had really good breakups. And I feel like this kind of isn't the norm, but I feel like it could be or should be.
Yeah, I think it's amazing that you have had really positive experiences in your breakups. I can't say the same for myself. However, it's true, absolutely, that breakups are really beautiful times of our lives. Like, I think that although it is an ending and there is a loss in there, there's so much space for new connections, new experiences to come through. And really, by like releasing what's no longer aligned for you, is going to create more abundance. And so I think people fear what they're going to lose through the process and not think, don't focus on all that's to be gained. And yeah, I've definitely felt that when I've ended, my long-term relationship of my whole life has changed and in the best way, and that although I lost so many connections and so much comfort and so much predictability, I've gained like understanding myself and where I'm going and all these connections that I would not have been able to have if I didn't end a relationship that I wanted to be in, but also didn't. Yeah.
Definitely. And I think, sometimes we know we want to end something, and it can be slightly easier when you know that this is what you want. And it can be a bit harder when it wasn't necessarily your choice. But also, like, the universe is always supporting us. And that's what I believe. And I know we're going to dive into I've been ghosted. It's not what I would have chosen, but sometimes the universe
Mm.
does things for us that we wouldn't necessarily do ourselves. And it's supporting us to get back into alignment. And like, even if you're going through a breakup or you've been through a breakup, and you're like, oh, I just wish this hadn't happened. It's been able to shift that mindset. And I know it's really hard in the moment. And I feel like definitely honor your emotions. We're not about like pushing them away, but knowing that it's actually for you. And I love this. It's kind of like a manifestation practice I do. And it's the way I believe now is you get to have this or something better. So, like, whatever relationship hasn't worked out for you in the past is because there's one that's even better. So I think
Yeah.
so many of us do have this like lack mindset of like, oh, I'm never going to find someone good enough or as good or that will do all these things that my previous partner did. And I actually experienced this after my first kind of long-term relationship I had from like 17 to 22. I remember then moving abroad and talking to people. And again, it was a really positive relationship. Like nothing bad happened, but it just wasn't for me anymore. Like we met young. And yeah, I remember like this one woman who I worked with saying, like, I can't believe you left him. Like you'll never find someone who treats you like that. And even more recently, people have been sharing like, oh, you've been so lucky to find someone who does all these things for you. And it is kind of this lack mindset of like, okay, but just because I have once, like, surely that means I can again. And I do believe that we can all have these amazing, beautiful relationships. And actually, a lot of the time, it comes from firstly, we need to have a really good relationship with ourselves because every other relationship is kind of like a mirror. And yeah, the more we love ourselves, the more love we invite in. Communication is like a huge piece as well. Oh yeah, and then the other piece is like believing that you can have a really good relationship. So often we say, "Oh, there's no good men out there," or "men do X, Y, and Z." And if that's what you believe, that's probably what you're going to attract. And the more that you believe that there is really amazing people out there, the more likely you are to actually like attract them into your life.
Yeah, I was actually having a similar thought in the supermarket yesterday. I was walking around and I was like, damn, because in the past I've experienced trauma which has left me with like a lot of anxiety around intimacy and things like that. And I had a lot of fear around like people not being able to meet my emotional needs during intimacy because I would get panicked. And then I would constantly be attracting these people that had difficulty holding space. And then now that it's not a thing that I experience because I've, done a lot of work on myself and I've created a safety within myself. I don't need those things from people so much anymore, but I'm also not attracting people that can't give that to me. So I feel like when you're constantly raising like the standards and also knowing what you're wanting to attract, you will attract that. Whereas like, because I don't have the mentality of people won't meet my needs anymore. I don't really think like that. I'm kind of just like, no, like this is it. And it was just so interesting because I was walking around and I was like, wow, I haven't attracted anyone like, trash in a really long time. Like, and it's like, what is that about? Is that just my mentality? Because obviously there's still there, like there's still out there people that wouldn't have emotional intelligence or stuff like that. But it's like, it's just yeah, what you're attracting and what you're kind of calling in. Because yeah, if you believe that all men are bad, then you're not really going to be able to see the good ones. Like you're not gonna actually be able to attract it because we love to reinforce our own bullshit, essentially. So I think everything starts with us and kind of getting really clear on what you actually want and believing that you can have it first. Yeah.
Definitely. I've actually had two clients in this last year who have like manifested their dream men. And that wasn't even like the main thing that we worked on together. But when I do a vision with people, which is like the first session in my one-on-one coaching program, we go through like what you would love your dream life to look like in every single area of your life. And when they start talking about like their dream relationship and actually connecting with like this is how I'd love to be treated, this is what I'd love for us to spend time doing, this is the personality traits or like activities I'd like, you're literally telling the universe like please give me this, like show me people in my path. And it's literally crazy how quickly that can happen. Yeah, and especially when we are aligning the rest of our life, like we're doing the things that we love within our life, that's when we are going to be like attracting people. And I truly believe that I'm always meeting like men that are going to treat me well, and in most part I do. Obviously not always, but yeah, maybe I'll dive straight into this now. So I've kind of had this casual relationship recently, and I want to talk firstly about how casual can actually be like really good, because I think many of us have again like a belief on what is good, what is not good, and I feel like casual has maybe had like a bad rap. What do you think of casual relationships, or what do you think
Yeah.
people think of them?
So I think society pedestals like committed relationships, boyfriend, girlfriend, and the kind of idea that we should only want this and that only this is good and like helpful, like good for you, and that to have like casual intimacy with someone's kind of like a not so great thing to do, or the assumption that just because it's casual and just because it's more fueled by like the need for intimacy, that it's like not going to be full of like respect or care. And that's
Mm-hmm.
just not the case at all. You can have casual relationships and be really looked after and have like a really good like friendship connection within it, and that you really get to decide like what truth to take on. And because our life isn't just about committed relationships, it's about everything between, and every relationship you have with anyone is so different to the next. So yeah, I feel like yeah, society just creates this idea that we either have boyfriend girlfriend or girlfriend girlfriend or whatever, or nothing, because it's bad to do casual or not be committed or whatever it is.
Definitely. And I think there's so much value and benefit in different types of relationship. And there's different types of relationship for different people or different times in our life. And like, I've come out of a long-term relationship. I don't want to get into a new relationship. And I think as long as it's like a mutual thing of like both people want the same type of relationship, it can work really well. And this is something that has worked really well for me for like a couple of months. And it's not something I necessarily thought I'd be able to do either. Like I thought, oh, I'm a lover girl. Like I've always been in long-term relationships. Like I felt like I'm someone who can like fall for someone quite easily, and I didn't want to. I mean, don't get me wrong, I definitely had like boundaries that made things like easy to not do that. But yeah, like with this casual relationship, we didn't speak between times apart from to like, decide when we were next going to spend time together. It was a really like positive experience where we had like really amazing conversation. Like it was yeah, like really fun, mutual like benefit. And it really worked for me for a period of time. So I want to like, yeah, get rid of this thing of like casual is not good, because actually it can really work. And it's not necessarily like, oh, just someone doesn't want to commit to only you. Yeah, what's your experience with casual relationships?
Yeah, so I was in like a really long-term relationship, and then kind of after that I returned to the dating world and I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, how do I make sure that I don't end up in another relationship straight away? And unfortunately for me, because I didn't spend enough time with myself to really figure out how to navigate the dating world, I did end up in another relationship really quickly. And I think that it messed with things, but it also taught me huge lessons. And I feel like I had to go through that to be like, okay, I'm not doing that again. And now I'm super clear about what kind of connection I'm looking for with people. Like, so when I start connecting with someone, I will talk to them and just communicate clearly about what I'm actually wanting, and what they're wanting. Or if I was like only there for a short time, I'd probably say, hey, I'm only here for a couple months. I'd still love to connect with you, like sexually, but it's not going to be a long-term commitment because and yeah, I think I used to think that I wouldn't be able to do casual relationships either because I'm a very affectionate person and I do get very emotionally attached to people, which is a beautiful quality to have, but it's very problematic when it comes to meeting, absolutely anyone. So I learned that in order to keep my emotional connection out of it, I have to do things like not text between seeing them. Because if you're texting daily, doing the whole good morning, darling, you just create this like attachment and you just don't need that. If you're not wanting to go down that road, I don't do the texting, I don't stay over. So the times that I have done a casual relationship, which actually went on for 5 months, I was so amazed that I saw this man for 5 months and I didn't actually get feelings for him. Like I didn't actually like I liked him, but I didn't daydream about running off into the sunset with him like it was someone. And I was like,
Definitely.
how did I do that? How did I do that? Even though, he was such a nice person and we had such a nice time together. And I was like, well, I didn't stay over, I didn't text in between, and we didn't talk about like I guess we didn't go too deep about things, basically,
Hmm.
which really helps. But yeah, so I kind of know the way that I need to act if I'm wanting a casual relationship, and I know how I would act if I'm actually looking for a committed relationship. So I kind of, yeah, I'm just very aware of how I'm acting and showing up in a connection, and that really helps me. And then communicating to them if they kind of overstep of like, please stop texting. Please stop snitching so much. You're going to get me attached and I don't want to. Like,
Love
don't
that.
tell me what you had for dinner.
Yeah, communication is such a key piece. And yeah, or even communicating that we're not going to communicate. I definitely believe I had this belief before that if someone wasn't texting you or messaging you, it meant that they weren't really interested. But that's something I've had to shift. And also, like, I don't want to be texting someone all the time. It is a waste of time and energy for me when I have so many other things to do. And I actually really value like in-person connections and just connecting in real life. I don't need to text someone every day to see what they're doing when we could just catch up at the end of the week and have like a really good conversation. So yeah, I love that. I think there's so many different types, and maybe we can even chat about that as well. Like you said, we're used to having these normal relationships, two people only, and it's committed. But actually, what if there's other types of relationships that can serve us even better? I know you've had a boyfriend and a girlfriend at the same time. Both of us are bisexual. Well, that's how I describe myself. I don't know if you've got a different, there's so many different labels.
Yeah, I think I don't know what I say. I think I just say queer because I'm like I don't really care what someone's gender is. It's not really it's not about that. I think all people are beautiful in their own way, and I'm going to be
Mhm.
attracted to whoever I'm attracted to. Um, Boyfriend and girlfriend at the same time. Yeah, so that's that's definitely something that I didn't know that was coming up for me, if that makes sense. Like when it happened, it was just very unexpected, and it was just like I met a man and a woman in the same month as each other, and I got on like a house on fire with both of them, and they both happened to already have like partners. So I met like the girl at like a sets party, and I met the guy on like Field, which is like an app for more like non-monogamous or sexually explorative individuals, let's say. Yeah, and then I just kind of kept exploring this relationship, and then they both like developed into committed relationships, and it was just such a buzzy experience because it wasn't like again it wasn't something that I was seeking, but at the time it felt really right for me. It felt authentic to me, and I don't really care what anyone else says about how I should, because and I think that we're sent all these messages about what love is and what it should look like and how, but it's like who said that? Who made that rule up? And why do I have as an individual have to obey that if that doesn't feel true to me? To me, love does not mean sexual exclusivity. That does not mean that I can't be monogamous with someone because I have been and I would again, but yeah, to me, it's just so much more like nuanced than that. And the love doesn't go away just because someone was sexually attracted to someone and had like an evening with them. Like, like love is so much deeper than just intercourse, that's not what defines it.
Definitely. And I do just believe in today's society, people just don't know, or they just believe that any other relationship will not be good for them. And I think a lot of that does come down to like insecurity, past trauma, things happening to other people. But actually, if we're really connected with ourselves, and if the people that we spend time with can communicate really well and we can communicate really well together, different relationships really can work. And I don't necessarily believe that we're just supposed to be with one person forever. So many people do get divorced. I even think with my parents,
Yeah.
they divorce and they're both in, like long-term committed relationship with different people. And they're so much happier that like in their new, I say new, like their next relationships, like that was supposed to happen. And I think with us, yeah, like what if you have like a really amazing 10-year relationship and then if that's no longer serving you, you separate, and actually what if that's best for both people? What if that works in magic ways?
Yeah.
What if you have new relationships with other people? And some people might have a lifetime of love with one person. If that feels really good to you both, that's perfect too. But it doesn't have to be like that. And I don't think we should have like negative connotations on having relationships with more people, and if it works out having relationships with people at the same time, like if that is something that is well communicated, like why does that have to be a problem? If everyone's happy, that can be a
Yeah.
good thing. It just doesn't seem like the norm, but that could be really fun for some people. And I also think this is something that like our ancestors did like back in the day. I don't know when the time came when they were like, nah,
Hmm.
it's just one man, one woman. And like, I guess marriage is you're committing just to one person for like
Yeah.
the rest of your life. But yeah, I think it would feel good if we didn't have this kind of like pressure. And to be honest, I remember telling my dad when I was like 16, 17, like, I'm never going to get married. I always had this like belief that I never would. And I don't know why. And I think part of it is like, I do love to be free. And I've always been in long-term relationships. So it's not that I don't want to commit to anyone. And it's not to say that I'm not going to have like long-term committed relationships in the future, because I probably will. But I've always wanted to be with someone because I really want to be with them, not because I feel like I should be with them because we've already made this commitment. I always wonder what it would be like if every year people had to like reassess their relationship. Is this what's serving you?
Yeah.
And I know it's about ups and downs as well. We're not just going to leave someone because it's been a hard year. But yeah, I think there's lots of things that tie us in relationships as well. Like it's like the joint mortgages, the marriage, the children. But what if we didn't let these things define our relationship? Often we put barriers and boundaries in there, or we're like, I can't do this because of this. But what if you could?
Yeah, I was just reading a book called like Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway.
Yeah.
And she was talking about how like our level 3 fear, basically the core fear of anything that we ever feel is the belief of I can't handle this. And I
Hmm.
think this comes on board when it comes to ending long-term relationships, especially if there's things like mortgage or pets or kids, right? It's that perceived like effort of like I can't actually take on the amount of effort or like stress that it would take to separate all of this. So I'm just going to stay in something that's not actually serving me because I don't think I can handle going through all of like that. And I know that in my experience, like there is like the sunk cost fallacy, which is when if you invest more time and energy into something, you then feel like you can't actually end it because like, oh, I've been together, for my case, I've been with him for 8 years. I can't stop now. Like we just spent 8 years together and then it's going to become nothing if I end it, And it's like that fear of, well, I've already invested all this time and energy, so isn't it better to like continue here because I've already put in so much time? But it's like actually the best thing you could do is do what's right for you, even if it feels really uncomfortable and really scary, because that's going to better serve both of you. And yeah, I'm a big advocate for of the like perception of I'm in a relationship with someone for as long as it serves both of us, for as long as it feels right for both of us. I would rather have like 10 beautiful relationships across my life than have one relationship that was really fucking hard and, that I was just hanging on to for dear life so that I could say that married my sweetheart in the idea
Definitely.
of sense, right?
Yeah, and I think we all have this niggle if something doesn't quite feel right, and we can ignore it with that, like, especially with
Yeah,
that what's it called? Sunk
sunk
fallacy.
cost fallacy.
Yeah, to be like, oh, I've spent so long. But actually, I don't think anything is ever wasted. I do believe in divine timing as well. And we can learn so much from every single relationship we have. And like I said earlier, it's this or something better. Everyone listening, if you're not feeling good in a relationship, like you will know if it's right for you or if it's not. And it is just having that courage and knowing that, like, at the right time, like, if it's not right for you, you will be able to end it. And what if the breakup is not as bad as you think? And when you're with someone who is really like respectful, kind, caring, like, they should be able to like communicate with you and respect your decision and your feelings, which is what I had. And like, my breakup was only love. Like there was nothing but like loving conversation.
Yeah, I feel like if you're in a healthy relationship and you want to end it for whatever reason, that should go well because it was already healthy and loving and respectful. Or if you're in a bad relationship and you need to end it, it just needs to happen, basically. Regardless of what goes down, like nothing can be worse, really. Nothing really can be worse than already being in that bad relationship, is kind of the mentality I have of
Hmm.
like, okay, I can either continue living this idea of a relationship and be really unhappy, or I can do the final the final thing and get out of it. So I think, yeah, just reminding people of even if it is a bad breakup, you're going to be so much better for it in the long run, and that's always going to be better than staying in your like discomfort or your pain.
Also, if it was a bad breakup, I feel like that's even more of a reason why you shouldn't be with that person. If they can't
Yeah.
handle that on their or they're like, speaking badly to you or whatnot, like that was never for you. And also, I know people have super bad relationships too sometimes, and like this is
Hmm.
just a little mention to like get help, get support if you need it. Like you don't have to do this on your own.
Yeah, and if anyone's going through a breakup at the moment, just want to throw in that actually my first ever podcast episode is called Congratulations on Your Breakup. It's basically like a full attitude swap on what that means. So regardless if you like initiated the breakup or if you've been broken up with, this is such a good lesson for you to really tune in and remember why this is a blessing rather than a curse, and to get you out of this mindset of that scarcity and that loss will really help you move forward. And actually, I listen to this when I go through my breakups because it's literally like 3 years old.
Pep talk from me to me.
Yeah, yeah, literally. I was like, the last breakup, I was like, no, I need to listen to Vanessa. I need to listen to the version of me that knows that this isn't the worst thing.
I'll have to link this podcast episode in the
Yeah,
description
yeah.
as well. But yeah, it's so true. And I know it's rubbish at the time, but so often so many good things come from breakups. And it is a time where we're aligning our lives with what we really want. We may have been like compromising or focusing on someone else, and we're like, no, this is an opportunity to focus on me. What do I want to do? Like lots of people go on solo travel, focus on
Yes.
their health and fitness, start doing courses they want to do, move abroad and do what's right for you. And that is only going to support you to enjoy your life so much more. And so often we look back and we're like, oh, I'm so glad that happened, or I'm so glad I did that. And like we shared before, this is actually good for both people, even for the person that didn't want to end the relationship. This is going to support them in the long run too. And no one wants to be in a relationship with someone who doesn't want to be in a relationship with them. You know, like it needs to be a mutual piece. Um, I feel like I need to dive into being ghosted.
I was thinking about it and I was like, damn, I don't know how to throw in casually here that I was ghosted by my girlfriend.
Okay, you want to go first?
Yeah, okay. So we're gonna talk about ghosting, and originally we were going to talk about just this within like casual relationships or like dating when you're in the dating apps and getting ghosted and all of that. But because we talked about my girlfriend a while back, I actually that relationship ended by her ghosting me. Like we were dating for 3 months and then she blocked me so that she could get back with her boyfriend. It was so chaotic and messy, and I was like, what the fuck? But it was really interesting watching my response to that. And I think that just further like deepened my self-trust and my security because I remember it happening and instead of telling myself like that I did all these things wrong, I just looked at the facts. I was like, look, I know that she's younger than me. I know this is the first time that she's dated a woman, and I know that it's been really overwhelming for her. She's had to face a lot of things and figure things out. And I know that, this was the first time that they kind of opened their relationship and let her see someone else. And she already communicated to me that she was feeling very overwhelmed and that he wanted her to block me. So when she blocked me, I kind of just like put all the pieces together and I was like, okay, I think she's done this. And although I'm upset because, yeah, she said that she wouldn't do that because she respects me too much. I quote. It's kind of like, okay, but this isn't about me. This is about your capacity and what you've got like in the pressure cooker right now. And if this is how you're going to react or treat me, I'm not interested. Like it's kind of like, okay, like you could have done that better. Like you could have absolutely just communicated. And even if you were just to say, hey, I'm going to get back with so and so, that means that we need to end our relationship and that I need to block you. I'm really sorry. That would have been fine, but just knowing that that behavior is not about me, and being able to move on from that. So I thought that I did a really fucking good job handling it because she was also my first girlfriend and the first girl that I've felt that amount of like emotional connection for. So it was a significant relationship in my life, but sayonara.
Definitely
Sayonara.
can only focus on the things that are within our control. And it can be really frustrating when things don't go our way. And like, so I obviously just got ghosted too. This is like fairly recently. And yeah, I truly believe it happened for me. And it's interesting, as I shared it on social media, I had quite a lot of women reach out saying, like, I'm so glad that you shared this with me, like with everyone. Because this does happen to so many people, and it is bad because I feel like people should be able to communicate. But if they can't, that is their problem,
Mm.
not ours, and it is a reflection of them. So I'm also pretty proud of myself about how I handled being ghosted because it was after like, yeah, 3 month casual relationship.
Mm.
Obviously I knew this relationship wasn't going anywhere and it was just going to be like a short-term thing, but I would have valued the communication to say like, hey, look, I'm not feeling this anymore, or whatever the reason would be. But that's not what I got. I literally got like, I'm on the way to your house, and then I never showed up and then never replied to your messages. Which was just completely bizarre. But in hindsight as well, like I did ignore like a few orange flags. Not to say that there was necessarily anything wrong with him, but it was just like I was accepting standards that were less than what I would desire in regards to like communication and other pieces. And I think again we can learn so much about ourselves. I can see you kind of like biting your tongue there. Vanessa was not a fan from the start. But there was actually so many things about this person that I really liked. And I always left him feeling really inspired. So there was good things. And I always think the universe is just showing us a taster of the things that we are interested in or an experience of them. But yeah, it made me realize the things that I don't like, even within a casual relationship.
Mm.
So yeah, I got ghosted and I the next day sent them a message because I was like, right, I'm a communicator. I'm good at communicating. I'm gonna just gonna put it out there and said like, hey, look, I felt a bit disrespected and messed around by the lack of communication yesterday. And I think I just left it at that. And he didn't read it, didn't reply, which I was surprised at. But also, like, I didn't make this mean anything about me. If he can't respond, that's a him problem. And I do believe the universe was doing this to support me so that I could let go of this one person, so that my spaces opened up as well. Like it was someone that I was like, spending time with weekly. And now I have that time back. And yeah, I know a lot of people are like, oh, when something bad happens, oh, if I'd have done this differently, if I'd
Mm.
have responded in this way, maybe this wouldn't have happened. And these thoughts can and stories can go around in our head. And often they are stories that we are just making up. But also, if you acted a different way, that would be because you're not being you. Like, yes, things might have changed if you'd have sacrificed what was right for you, but that wouldn't have been what was right for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when it comes to casual relationships, just because it's casual doesn't mean that you can't have standards and
Yes.
expectations within that of, yeah, okay, I'm looking for a casual relationship, but I also still expect worship. I still expect worship. I still expect communication. I'm still only available for kind people. And actually, like without those things, I'm really not interested, even though this isn't a committed kind of on, long-term vision for us. So I think having expectations within all, just standards within all relationships is really important. And it's been really interesting because I took a year off dating basically after my breakup, and then I kind of went back to it, and I've been going on all these dates back in New Zealand, and I've been ghosted a lot after the first date, and it blows my mind because I'm such a communicative person, so I just don't really understand the like concept of just like silence. So yeah, and then at first I was like, what is wrong? Like I was like, what is happening here? Like what am I doing on these dates that is like causing like the same outcome? But then I just bring myself back to no, like this is a reflection of them, and it's also a blessing because I'd rather they ghosted me and showed that they weren't very good at communicating how they're feeling now versus further down the track when I'm, attached or really enjoying a casual connection with them and having to deal with the what's going on this. So I think, yeah, the universe is protecting me, and I'm only available for people that can communicate. So them showing that they can't at the level that I need it to be is good. It's a good thing. So I just think it's really funny, and then it just becomes all these little random stories.
Definitely. And I can feel compassion for people who ghost or don't handle things the way that they could handle them
Yeah.
because I think they obviously can't, like if they could do better, then they would. And there's
Yeah.
something not quite like right or happy within them for the fact that they can't just communicate like how they feel or what they want.
Yeah, well, so many of us weren't taught how to communicate effectively. I do a lot of stuff around communication with my clients around not being the mouse, so not being really passive and not actually speaking how you're feeling and not being the dragon and like attacking people or not being passive aggressive and not like, like saying these sideways comments, hoping that they pick it up and stuff. And so I understand that a lot of people weren't taught like how to do this and that communication can be really scary because maybe you don't know how to find the right words or you don't want to come across the wrong way or you don't want to hurt their feelings or you're really overwhelmed like tends to be it's a withdrawal response and then they feel guilty about that withdrawal and then they prefer to avoid it. So it's like, yeah, like these people they just don't know how to do anything else but that, right? So we get to just be like, okay, that's about them and they're on their journey to kind of figure that out. And
Mhm.
I don't actually have to hold their hand in that. It's not my job to teach them. That's such a big thing for me of like, I'm actually not available to be the educator anymore. And I'm actually only looking for people who already have the communication that I desire. And that's such a more powerful like place to stand than, trying to yeah, get people to act, I guess, the way that you want them to.
Definitely. And I do like really believe that we get to decide the standards for how people treat us. by firstly how we treat ourselves. I think like the more we show ourselves love, the more we're going to attract people that show us love, or the more we respect ourselves, the more people will respect us. And even I love the example of like, if you're buying yourself flowers every week, you're probably going to
Yes.
attract people that buy you flowers. They're literally going to see you doing that for yourself and know that's what they love. That's what I'm going to give them. So that's kind of like a really tangible example. But yeah, obviously how people respond to us is it is a reflection of them, but we get to choose which behaviors we accept and which ones we don't accept. And the more we say no to the things that we don't accept, the more we uphold our boundaries, the more we're going to attract people who like accept our boundaries and honor them. Because boundaries are actually really good things. I think, again, they can have like a negative connotation, but people want to know what your boundaries are. They want to know what you like, what you don't like, what's acceptable, what's not, because they feel safe when they know.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think it benefits everyone being really clear about that. And then there's a difference between standards and boundaries. So you
Yeah.
can have your standards that you're trying to call in, but
Yeah.
your boundaries are the moment when your standards aren't met and how
Yeah.
you respond. So is your boundary that if someone wants to disrespect me, that I'm going to leave this connection, or is it that I'm going to give them a hall pass and continue to go down that road? And I can say that as someone who has given hall passes over and over and over, right? And learned that actually the best thing I can do is say no. Say no over and over and over. And you're going to have to say no 1,000 times, maybe, before you find your fuck yes. So it's like every no gets you closer to your fuck yes. And the better you get at knowing what your no is, you're going to get closer to your yes. And it's like we can get really excited when we meet people and really want it to work out. But it's like if they don't meet your standards or if they cross your boundaries, you need to say no. And yeah, being able to do that so that you can actually find someone who meets your standards and respects your boundaries.
Definitely. You can have a magical relationship, and I feel like I just wish everyone would believe this and then be able to see it, that you can have everything that you want within a person, and you are so worthy of having magical relationships in your kind of like romantic relationships, but like all the relationships in your life as well.
There's a saying which is like the longer you stay on the wrong train, the more expensive it is to get home. So it's
Mm.
like the longer you stay in a relationship or a connection that's not quite right, the harder it's going to be to like re recover from it, get back to it, and find the right person that you actually want to get on the train with.
Definitely. I
Yes.
think we can get carried away in our heads with creating stories and having expectations of how things are going to work out before we even potentially meet someone or once we've met someone. And I think if we can detach from having like an outcome and actually just enjoy connections in the present moment and just see how they go, that can feel really magic, because it's when our expectations don't meet our reality or when we've created this kind of like fantasy within our minds, that's when it can feel really rubbish. And some relationships are just for a season. You might have a really magic relationship just for a month. Maybe you just have one really good date with a person, but what if you could just enjoy that for exactly what it is and know that maybe that's what it's supposed to be? Some people are in our lives for a reason, some are seasons, some are lifetime, and none are necessarily better than another.
Yeah. Again, just the hierarchy of what a good relationship is when it's like the shorter ones could be the most meaningful. It's not, it's about the quality rather than how long it goes for or what it gives you, um, objectively.
Amazing. Well, I've absolutely loved this chat. I know you really support people with like communication, and I love the phrase communicate like a baddie, which your voice says in my head very regularly, and I know a lot of your clients. So, do you want to talk through, yeah, how you can support people with this?
Yeah, so I help my clients communicate like a baddie so they can experience more pleasure and soulful connections. So that's really about creating the kind of connections that you actually want to have by being able to advocate for what you want in and out of the bedroom. And self-advocacy is such a big part to being able to create the experiences that you want to have and knowing yourself well enough to know what you actually want in a relationship rather than just taking what comes. I am running a freebie next week called Pussy is God. You can access this anytime. Just message me like Pussy is God if you if you want to jump into the chat. And basically this is going to be a 3-day freebie where we go through first creating safety within ourselves. So becoming our best friend and our best support and being able to ground ourselves. And then from that place, we can then learn how to communicate like a baddie. So finding the right language to express what we actually want from people so that we can have the pleasure that we want. And the third day is about igniting pussy power. That's my other my saying that I always say, which is basically about viewing your sexuality and your pleasure as your birthright. And it's not something that's like shameful, it's actually something that's for you, and it gets to be so fulfilling. So we're going to do a saucy little offer. And then, yeah, apart from that, one-on-one clients, I love working with people closely to get right in there.
Maybe I'll put the link to your freebie in the caption as well so people can like find it
Oh,
easily.
yeah. Yeah, and you'll just be able to join the Telegram group where all the audios will be. It's developing.
Amazing. Cool. Yeah. And I just wanted to share as well, it was never my intention, I guess, to support people to attract these relationships, but this is a natural thing that happens when you focus on your holistic health, when you're
Mm.
following what lights you up, when you're aligning your life with your true desires, when you're living your purpose, you magnetize relationships, whether that's, yeah, like romantic relationships, friendships, jobs, opportunities to you. And this really happens when you are connecting with your feminine energy. So, yeah, magic happens more than you could even realize. So, if anyone is wanting to attract the people in your life that you really want, I highly recommend doing a vision with me. So, send me a little message if that is something you are interested in. Vanessa, thanks for coming on for episode number 2. I'm sure there's many more to come. Also, if anyone has any questions for either of us, we love to chat. And if there's any other podcast episodes you'd love to hear about, or topics you'd love us to cover, just send us a DM. Send in love. Hope you all have lots of pleasure this week and forever.